Hi everyone, welcome to the Empower Sounds podcast. My name is Mahika and this podcast is all about sharing the inspiring stories of women from all walks of life and documenting the mindsets and missions behind their journeys and success. Today I'm joined by Annabelle Barton. Annabelle is the founder and designer of Size A, a luxury petite clotheswear brand. Today you'll learn all about the ins and outs of starting your own brand and entering the fashion business. This is going to be a 3-part series that I'm doing where I interview a designer, then a model, and a model scout. I hope you enjoy it and you find this really interesting. Amazing. Annabelle, welcome to the Empower Sounds podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I would love to start by asking you how you developed your interest in fashion and what initially drew you to pursue a career in the fashion industry.
Yeah, so initially I didn't really want to go into fashion. So my background is really beauty based. So my mom's a hairdresser, my sister's a hairdresser, they have a salon. So I was like destined to be in the beauty industry, I always felt. So I actually did my undergraduate degree in makeup and hair design. So I've done like backstage at fashion shows and stuff for like makeup and hair rather than fashion. But when I was there, I had this like urge that I wanted to be like involved more. I didn't just want to turn up on the day and like put a look on a face. I wanted to create a story and a moment basically for myself and for like everyone to see rather than just be doing makeup. So eventually at my final year on the undergraduate, it was actually COVID. So we graduated during lockdown and we had to create our final major project in lockdown, which was like super difficult. Where as like a creative brain, it's really hard to create things that just being confined to your home, as you can imagine. So I created this zine, like a digital zine, which was photographed. Some of it actually was photographed before we went into proper lockdown, and then some of it was during, like when we couldn't go out the house. And it was basically a celebration of petite women being represented in high fashion, because it kind of led on from my dissertation where I was doing mass amounts of research in like historical issues of Vogue and Cosmopolitan and Harper's Bazaar, and I was really discovering that like representation really wasn't a thing back in like the early 90s specifically. Was kind of like a really bad era for representation in terms of like different body shapes. I mean, so that's kind of like where it started, and I wanted to spark a conversation of like having shorter women within magazines. And then as I graduated, like my tutor at the time was loving that idea, and she was like, this is amazing, like you should do something further with it. And I really struggled for probably about, I would say, like a year after that, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And so that's when I kind of discovered JCA, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the fashion brand like based off this petite kind of like research that I'd done. I didn't really know that I wanted it to be a petite brand, but when I got to JCA is really when it kind of like ramped up.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the Jimmy Choo Academy and like why you decided to study there out of everywhere and what you learned and gained and how it led to the inspiration behind creating Size A and your journey?
Yeah, of course. So as you have heard, like from my little bit of backstory there, I had no fashion experience, so I didn't know how to create a garment. I literally hadn't sewed anything in my life before I'd got to JCA. I couldn't really draw. I was really finding it difficult to show people what I wanted to create. I was trying to say it, which obviously you can't really say what you want to create unless you visualize it. And I found JCA actually on an Instagram ad, which was actually like crazy. And I was like, oh my God, like Jimmy Choo Academy, like that sounds like a dream. I was looking at the ads and I was looking at the master's course, and it was all about like creating your own business, which is obviously where my brain was kind of sparking at that time. And I was a bit low as well, I think, at the time, because I had like just graduated, it had been COVID, and I was lost really like in my kind of brain and like what I wanted to do. And this just seemed like such a amazing opportunity. And when I applied and got in, I was shocked, to be honest. I was like, how are they accepting me onto a fashion course when I've literally never done anything in my life? But I think the idea that I had really interested them. And everybody else that was on the course, there was only 5 of us, and we were all super different. And I think that's what really gave us like a really good team. And like, I don't know, the year was just so good with everyone because we were all so like literally polar opposite. And I think that kind of inspired us because we could like bounce ideas off everyone. It really wasn't a competitive environment. So we were all kind of starting at nothing and we had to build it in like a year. So that's kind of where JCA came into it. But I think when you get on the course, it's like another whole other game. It's like a whole other world because you have to learn what I had to learn, literally everything from September until the following September is literally like how I learned what I actually do now.
That's crazy. And what was some of your favorite like learning things that you like didn't expect that you would learn? Because obviously there was the sewing and there was the entrepreneurship side, but what was something that surprised you that you took away from the academy?
So the most surprising thing that I learned from JCA was definitely that I was actually going to sew everything. I think that sounds really stupid now, but I initially got there and I was thinking, I'm going to get I'm going to get a company to sew it for me. I was living in like crazy land. And like the tutor there, Zek, who's like amazing, he's like taught me everything. He said to me, Annabelle, if you're going to go to a manufacturer and you're going to ask them to sew it for you, what are you going to say to them? And you don't know how to communicate what you want. He said, until you know how to do it, you're not going to be able to get exactly what you desire, like out of each garment. So I think that was actually the most surprising, along with everything else, which was amazing, like all the business side. My actual surprising bit was learning to pattern cut and sewing, which is literally what I continue to do now.
That's really interesting. And how would you describe your design philosophy and how has it evolved through your time at the academy and since then?
So I would say my design philosophy was it started really easily, I would say, is like I wanted to create something that was true to myself. I wanted literally to create clothes that I couldn't get in the shop. That's literally how it started because I'm so short. I'm like, I would say I'm 4'11", but I don't even think I'm 4'11". But I literally wanted to create things that I could put in my wardrobe now and literally be like, oh, I'll wear that on a night out, or I'll wear that now or wherever, and I can like dress it up, dress it down. And there was just nothing out there. So that's where it initially started. And then I wanted to kind of bring in like my heritage, where I'm from, what I like, my style. And that's kind of where the first collection started. So it's all about, each set has a specific Irish symbol, which it's inspired by. So that's kind of like each one, if you look at it, you can, all the names of it, they kind of are inspired by different ones. So they've got the Cladder ring, the St. Christopher pendant, the Dara knot, like the ashes and things like that. So yeah, all things that I've remembered from my childhood and from going to Ireland and from my family conversations and things like that I've been gifted, all those things. That's what it was inspired by initially. And then like the silhouettes were like more like inspired by my current love of style, like what I dress now in, what I wanted to dress in, who I see out there that I like, what their style silhouette looks like. And that's sort of where I would say the aesthetic of size A comes from now. And that is going to continue. I think the only way that I can truly like love what I'm doing and continue to design in the way that I have been is to continue like doing things that are true to me and things that I would initially want in my wardrobe. That's how I go about the design process, definitely.
That's super interesting. Thank you for sharing that. You also in your designs incorporate adjustable hemlines, and what inspired you to do this, and how does it align with your commitment to cater to petite women and like cater to what you would want for yourself?
Yeah, so initially like that actually goes back to when I was learning about pattern cutting. And I can remember my tutor saying to me, like, Annabelle, if you want to create a petite brand, that's going to be so difficult because there's different ranges of petite bodies. And they were saying you're going to need to learn to grade everything and do different sizes within petite. And initially I wanted to do like waist measurements and length, but that's super expensive for a small brand to do. And because there's so much range, And like my designs weren't fitted. So a lot of the stuff like you see on, say, for example, the ASOS petite section, or even on like other petite brands, it's really fitted, which is great, but not all the time do you want to have like fitted stuff. So my aesthetic was really oversized, and drawing in at certain points of the body. So I kind of took the opportunity to interview and research a range of petite bodies that I know of, including my own and lots of my friends, and take measurements from all of them, all of the different areas of the body, and then create a size A, which is kind of where the name came from. So the size A is just one size which can be adjusted to different petite bodies. So say if you're a size 12, whatever that is in this world, I don't know, but size 12 in trousers, you can still fit into the petite, into the size A kind of fit, because it's a different fit that it would be on a size 6, but that's okay. Like that's how it's meant to look. However you want to make it look on your body is what it's meant to be. So that's kind of where the sizing came from. And then that's how the adjustability kind of came into it. So each waist and hemline of specific items are adjustable for that purpose, so that they can fit everybody within that petite range that I wanted to target. And that kind of one was great as a young designer, because you're making one size rather than a million, but also it's fitting the range of people that you want to target. And it's kind of really individual as well, because they can creatively do it however they want. So a lot of girls that I've tried on, say, the trousers, some like to wear it quite high-waisted and some prefer really, really low-waisted, which, you know, at this time is great, because you can have it really loose, really tight. It's just like perfect. Like some days you don't want to wear low-waisted, but some days you're feeling yourself and you want to wear low-waisted. So you can do either. And that's the same as kind of like bunching up your sleeve or like rolling it down. Same as like the ankle. If you want to have it super tight and show off your trainers or your heels, you can do that. Or if you're just having a more relaxed day, you can also do that. That's kind of like where the adjustability came from. Yeah.
That's really interesting. It kind of gives the sense of one garment, like several looks.
Exactly.
How do you envision this kind of adjustability contributing to your customers' confidence and self-expression, and just like owning themselves and feeling confident in their bodies?
I think it's a great way of like creating your own style almost, because even though it's a small thing like a drawstring, it allows you to style it in different ways. For example, if you've got a pair of jeans that fit you, like, and that's it, they're not moving, they're not going anywhere, you have limited options, I feel anyway, as to how you can style it. You can have a tight top, a crop top, or an oversized shirt. Like that's kind of where I'm at, or a big jacket. Whereas with size A, you can literally turn the trousers into 3/4 lengths if you want to. You can literally turn them into like really puffy shorts if you want to, like the trousers I'm saying. Or you can wear it super, super sleek and wear it high-waisted, long legs. Like it's super, like that's why one of the brand values is creativity, because I want people to style the items individually, how they feel the most comfortable. And that is literally how I kind of went about it, is when I'm wearing the clothes, it looks completely different to, say, like when Songju was wearing one of the items, it looks completely different on her than it would on me. And that's amazing. I think that's like crazy that you can create one garment and it will look different on like 6 different people. But yeah, I think it's more about like the styling wise, and that's where my brain always starts when I'm designing, is how am I going to style it, what am I going to do with it, how can other people change it up. That's really important. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it, and that's going to continue into each of the garments in the next collection as well.
That's super interesting, and I love that. You touched on creativity being a core value. What are the other core values of size A?
So the first one is luxury. That's because all the garments are made with like specific fabrics that I've chosen myself and hunted out. I have like an idea in my mind when I'm designing of really, really specific feels and textures and weights that I want with the fabric. So when I'm selecting them, I'm not going for a price option. I'm going for what I've got in my mind. So the luxury aesthetic of size A is not only emulated through the fabric, but it's through the embroidery, through the styling, through the prints, everything. So it's really about having a luxury item that people can now buy, put in their wardrobe, and get out time and time again. It's not about wearing it once. It's about getting it out on a Monday and a Friday for different, like for a lunch and for a dinner. Like it's about all of that. I want it to be an item that can be reused all the time and kind of create your style around like size A pieces. That's the luxury aesthetic that I want to create. And then obviously I've said creativity, and I think the other one's individuality. Individuality in terms of like how you style it as well. It goes alongside the creativity. Yeah, it's about creating your own individual person within the size A realm. So getting that jacket or that crop top or that trouser and creating your own individual style using it.
That's super interesting. And how do you see like maintaining a sense of individuality as the brand continues to grow? Like, what are the goals for fostering a supportive and engaged community who resonate with the brand's mission whilst also growing a business and like making sure like it like has more customers and a bigger like fan base, you know?
Yeah. I think at the moment my main aim is to build that like community of people, as you say. So in terms of like increasing that, I'm making sure the next collection can be kind of styled really, really simply as well. So say like one day you just want a top and jeans, like you're going to be able to do that in the next collection. Whereas in the previous collection, it was more about creating that aesthetic and starting the brand. Whereas this next collection, going into further ones, I want people to be able to buy like random things. Like even if you don't want the adjustable items, there's other pieces within the next collection which can really still make you an individual and still make you have that really like amazing style that you want to create, but you don't necessarily need to buy like the full set. So that's in terms of like business wise, that's great because people can just buy a t-shirt off you and that's fine. And they're still a part of the community. But in terms of like the pieces that you'll see again and again, the trousers will still be back, the jackets will still be back. The pieces that were really, really loved by people in the first collection, I'll always bring back, but with a twist. I think nowadays, like people want to have like, I know people are always about like the luxury aesthetic or the loud aesthetic, or they have like certain things. Whereas I think, which is amazing, and I think that makes you individual, but it's kind of a trend also. So you want to kind of, well, I as a designer want to cater to that, but also make sure people can have their own style as well and make sure they're not copy and paste, you know, they're not like the same as everybody else. That's my aim. So in order to build that community, it is about supplying clothes that can cater to all of those different things that I said. And that's really important to me because I sometimes have days where I'm like, I don't want to like dress up nice. I just want to wear a really basic top and trousers or whatever. And that's important to cater towards as well, which initially I definitely didn't. So that's also a target for me because being commercial is really important and being able to make money off what I'm doing is really important as well. But also like my main priority is still to build a community, get the brand like out there and make people realize actually this is a really cool concept and it's needed in the luxury kind of clothing environment, especially in like London and main cities. I think it's going to be really popular. Yeah.
For sure. And that's so interesting. You touched a little bit about London. So studying in London, developing the brand in London, how has like living in such a cosmopolitan like fashion city influenced your perspective on the brand, and how do you think that's going to give exposure to the brand in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it was undeniably amazing to like study in the place that I was. JC is in like right by Bond Street. It's like the perfect location because you've got every kind of person like style right at your fingertips. So you've got the people that shop on Bond Street who literally are like luxury aesthetic is what I like to say, or they shop purely from these luxury house brands, and then 2 minutes later you could go to Selfridges and you've got someone that's dressed really kind of cool, aesthetic and colourful and expresses themselves. You've got Soho, you've got Shoreditch, you've got South London, like North, loads of people dressed completely differently. So even being exposed to that, even on the tube, like you can see people, like I would go into uni every day and just be looking at all the different clothes, all the different types of people, and that would be a source of inspiration. I think it's like invaluable, like amazing to be in London because there's just so many creatives, like all in such a tight space that it's difficult not to be inspired, even if you're just walking down the street. Like you don't need to go anywhere, you can literally see it with your own eyes just walking around. It's always going to be a place that I'm going to target, and that's where I started the brand and where I will continue to kind of increase the exposure of it. London Fashion Week for me is really important. I think even as a small brand, it's really important to kind of get your name into the right email inboxes and everything. Like I'm going to keep going until like everybody knows what size A is and what we're about, and then take it internationally. Yeah, for sure.
That's super interesting. And speaking about combining like the international elements with kind of the UK base, on your website you said that you have a commitment to designing and manufacturing in the UK. How does that align with the kind of ethos of sustainability that you have for your brand?
Yeah. So that actually started when I was at JCA. So I was researching loads of different options as to how I could manufacture and create the clothes. Obviously, while I was at JCA, I actually created all the clothes myself. But going forward, there was just no way I could create everything. Obviously, everybody knows it's a cheaper option to go elsewhere and to get your clothes manufactured outside of the UK. But for me, as a luxury brand that I wanted to position myself in, it was important that it was manufactured in the UK, not only because of the sustainable options in terms of like you're not shipping it halfway across the world, all of those kinds of things, that the ethical kind of implications that I can go and visit the factory that I'm like producing my clothes in at any time. That was really important to me. Timing wise, that was really important because I can get things turned around a lot quicker now that other people are doing it. But it's literally so important for like a luxury market to make sure that like you're catering and you're not kind of cutting corners. I like to say I'm not cutting any corners. I'm literally doing everything I can to ensure that the brand is as luxury as it can be and well made as it can be. I've had so many options to go to China, to Portugal, to Turkey, loads of different options, but it's just not in the ethos of the brand. Like I want it to be a UK brand. I want it to be proud to be made in the UK. And eventually when the time comes, when I do sell it internationally, that's going to be a massive selling point for me as well, because people love it when they see like made in the UK or made in England on that label. Like they go, wow, that was actually produced here, or that was produced in blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of off-putting. Even as a consumer, I know like if it's made in a certain place, people don't trust it, or they go, oh, why as a luxury brand are you producing it there when you have the option to do it here? So that for me was super important. But also like championing the UK manufacturers, like it's important to me to make sure that I do that and make sure I use people that are close to me and that I can literally work with so easily. It was really, really important to make sure it was manufactured in the UK.
That's really interesting. Moving on, so it's manufactured in the UK, but it's now getting attention from international artists, including Chris Brown. Working with Chris Brown was a significant milestone for the brand. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your collaboration and what the process was like creating custom trousers for him?
Yeah, so it was a really exciting opportunity for me. It was actually after the UCL show that it came about. I think it was like late January. Yeah, it was late January. And Chris Brown actually has a UK stylist that he continuously works with. So when he comes to the UK, he will work with him. And he actually followed the size A account from the JCA London Fashion Week show. And then when I showed the collection again at UCL, randomly just messaged me saying, I love these. These would look amazing on Chris. And I don't actually think he was being like totally serious. I don't think he was like, make them. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't saying, can you make them for me? I was just like, oh, I can do it. Bearing in mind, I've never made anything for a 6-foot man in my life. Never. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And he was like, oh, he's coming in like 3 days. I was like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. So then I just took it upon myself to make it without having, if I'm honest, without having the confirmation of it actually being, he was even going to come and collect it. So not that he's going to wear it, none of that, that the stylist is even going to come and collect it, which was super risky. But I just had something in my mind, like when I get something like that, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then I was just made it. We made it custom. So obviously I had to make completely new patterns. And it was just like a complete shock to the system, to be honest, at how big everything was. So like the trousers were like massively long, obviously for me, used to like doing this shorter trousers. So once it was kind of done, I was really proud of it, to be honest, because I'd made it in probably about 3 days, not even 3 days, like less than 3 days. And it was really high quality. And I spent a lot of time at JCA. Actually, they really kindly let me come back and like use all the machinery to make it. Thankfully, they did pick it up. The stylist did pick it up. There was no guarantee ever that he was going to wear it. But there was something in my mind that was saying like, this outfit fits the aesthetic of the tour. Like the tour that he was on was really like green and black. And like I was just like, yeah, that's the perfect outfit to wear. So I was just like, he is going to wear it. He is going to wear it. And I actually had tickets already to go at my hometown in Birmingham. And I was like, maybe he's going to wear it on the night that I'll be there. And they'll be like me, like every night I was like refreshing. What is he wearing? He wasn't wearing it. And I was like, why is he not wearing it? And eventually when we got to the show, I was like, me and my friend were like, he's going to wear it tonight. And then all of a sudden he just raised up and I was like, he's wearing it. He's wearing it. And I was just dying. I was dying. And my friend was screaming. And I was just thinking, that is God's work, you know, that was God's work. And I think it was meant to happen. I think like I had the tickets for that night specifically. And I think that was a milestone for the brand, because I think in my mind, it solidified that I'm actually a designer now. Like I can actually do it, even though I know I'd done everything else before. But that was like somebody of influence like that actually likes my trousers and actually wants to wear them for like a tour. And that kind of gave me the confidence to then go forward and be like I can actually do this as a career now. And yeah, that's how it kind of happened. But it was very luck of the draw. I always say to like any of like people that have asked me, so how did it come about? I was like, it was pure luck, to be honest. But then with a mix of my hard work, I feel like I made it happen.
That's incredible. Well done. Like, I think the luck gives you the opportunity, but it's a testament to your hard work that it followed through. So how has this incredible opportunity influenced the visibility of your brand within the industry? And like, how have you seen the growth of size A continue after this?
Directly after, obviously, there was, I put like social media posts and stuff out there. And I think it got a lot of attention from other stylists, like UK stylists that were like on my list to work with. So following on from that, I dressed Manelia, who's an R&B artist, and she actually took her stylist took some of the size A pieces out to America where she was performing at a festival. So outreach like that, it kind of like made that happen. And further ones from that, which some haven't materialized, some have, like stylist pools, it's made a massive impact. But then people always say to me like, oh, how come you did like the outfit for Chris Brown and it's a petite brand? Where I'm just trying to like, at that point I was trying to gain exposure for the brand. And I think now, because I've got names like that behind me, it's like it gives the brand a bit of validity. And now people want to work with me a little bit more in terms of like seeing my designs, giving me other opportunities in terms of working together on completely like other things, or they want to see how my processes in sort of engaging with other people in the media, things like that. It's not really progressed it in terms of design wise, because they were trousers from a previous collection, but in terms of like knowing what was people's favorite within the collection, that made it majorly obvious that it was that outfit. It kind of made me think, like, design wise, it was more like what were people's favorite. But in terms of career wise, it's more about like the network that it gave me and exposed me to was completely different and massive, following on from that.
That's super interesting, and it seems like you really like looked into how the brand could grow from that. After this incredible experience, do you have like any new aspirations or dream collaborations that you're rooting for Size A in the future that you're willing to share with us? Like, what's on the vision board?
Yeah. I mean, my vision board is literally like an Excel spreadsheet, is what I like to say. So I don't technically like make a vision board for Size A. I have like a contact database, which is like full of emails and names of people that I want to work with. So that ranges from stylists to celebrities to artists to other brands that I like love. But so I like list them all out and I'll like tick them off as to people that have even replied to me. I'm like, yeah, perfect. So I have like that. And my top three, I would say, in terms of a designer, my favorite designer who, if I met, I would probably like, I just love her, is Yoon Ambush. So she is the creative director of Ambush, and she also does men's jewelry for Dior. And she has like a load of Nike collaborations, and I'm obsessed with all of them. I buy all of them. So if I was to work with her in any form, that would literally make my life. In terms of an artist to work with, I have like specific ones that are more catered towards a size A audience now that I really want to work with. And that includes maybe like Ariana Grande is one, but I think her aesthetic is a little bit different now. But still would be amazing to work with her. But I have like people from the UK, like Ray. Who else? Flo, the girl band, their styling is really amazing. So they're kind of like artists that I'd like to work with. And then stylists, I have quite a long list actually, but there's Leah Abbott. She's like probably my favorite stylist in London at the moment. She's done loads of different work. You'd know if you've seen it, like she's worked with Georgia Smith a lot, and she does a lot of music videos as well. So she did one of Chris Brown's music videos with Wizkid. She did like the majority of the styling, I think, for Chris Brown. And yeah, she's amazing. She would be one of the main stylists that I'd want to work with. But I think like even from the collaborations that I've done before, like with Gola and working with other designers like Hannah Vinloan and Jazzy, who was an intern for me and actually is a student at JCA, like they brought so much creativity to like the size A aesthetic initially. They helped with all the shoes and accessories that we used in the first show. So yeah, they were like amazing, and I was blessed to work with all of them because they made the kind of vision come to life, which is amazing. Yeah,
that is really amazing. And touching on that theme of your interns, what is some advice you would give to aspiring fashion designers who are just starting out on their creative journeys and like starting to think of brands that they want to create? If you could go back, what would you change?
I change. I would intern more. I think because I had such an idea of what I wanted to create, I just ran with it. So now people can look at me and be like, oh, you've only done for yourself and you've only created for size A, which is completely true. So maybe if I was to go back now, if I was doing my undergraduate, for example, and I was doing fashion, I'd maybe try and intern for a magazine, a designer, like loads of different things, so that you can kind of have a variety of skills when you come to do your brand or your thing that you want to do. But in terms of like starting out, try and have a niche. So obviously my niche is being a petite brand and the aesthetic that it has. I think if you're just going to do women's wear or men's wear, like you need to have something about you that's different than everybody else, because you can get lost really easily. Even like as when we graduated at JCA, the 5 of us had specific niches. So like everybody was very memorable because none of us were just women's wear. So it's everyone was completely different. So when you talk about the 5 individuals that I graduated with, it's really easy because nobody was just women's wear, just men's wear, like, or just handbags or just shoes. Everybody had a purpose for the brand or a purpose for what they were designing. And I think like starting out, that's really important to make yourself different to everybody else. Yeah, make sure you have a niche.
That's really good advice. Thank you. How would you like Size A to be remembered as a brand and the impact you hope that it will have in the fashion landscape going forwards?
I think because we're only getting started, I think it's hard to know what I want it to be remembered for. I want it to be remembered for, or being known for, as like a pioneer in petite fashion, but also like not forgetting that it's not just for the store, it's not just for the people. I want it to be a creative realm. So like having shows at London Fashion Week, I want them to be memorable. Like eventually when I have the capacity to do bigger shows, bigger things, bigger events, like I want those to be known as like a pioneering event or a pioneering show. Having models that are under 5'4" on a runway is unheard of. Like nobody does it. People want more legs, more this to showcase the clothes, whereas the clothes that these models will be showcasing is purpose for their bodies. Like that's important. I want that to be the pioneering kind of statement of how it's remembered. Yeah, I think that's really important. And then what was the other bit of the question?
Just what do you like, the legacy you want to leave behind, basically?
Yeah, I think more about like I think the importance of having representation, but also having an aesthetic which is close to my heart. I think continuing that is really important. Yeah, I think that's what the legacy I want it to be and want to be known for even now, is being that brand that is the first to move into that market.
Amazing. And we always end our podcast with the theme of gratitude. So what are you most grateful for in this moment?
Definitely most grateful for my family. I know that sounds really cliche, but I think without them, because I've had such an amazing support system throughout my time at JCA as well, I couldn't have made that collection without them. Not only because that was a source of inspiration, but financially and mentally, you need people around you when you're doing a collection or a brand or starting something new. You need those people around you to kind of ensure you that you're doing what you should be doing or your purpose is right. And I have the best like support system you can imagine. Yeah, so I'm grateful for my family, but everyone at JCA who's taught me everything that I know now. I'm also grateful for that, because without them I wouldn't be striving for what I want to strive for now, and I definitely wouldn't have done everything that I've done so far without the JCA as well.
That's incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing all of your amazing insight, advice, and inspiration. I will leave all of the like web links for Size A in the show notes, but where can our audience find you?
So you can find us on Instagram. It's size__A. But yeah, that's basically where you can find me. I mean, we're on TikTok as well, same handle, and yeah.
Perfect. I will link everything in the show notes as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Empower Sounds podcast. Stay tuned every Monday for your weekly dose of inspiration and entertainment.